Hello and welcome to Cooperative Management Solutions. I'm Tammy Kaufman, Property Manager. Today we're going to talk about what is a rent roll, how do I read it, and how important is it to review on a monthly basis. So we're going to start by taking a quick peek at a sample rent roll. This is done in an Excel spreadsheet. You'll probably normally see these on a piece of paper or in a PDF file, but I did this in a spreadsheet to make it easier for me to show you. So this is called a summary rent roll, and it goes from a current period. This particular one is October 1 till October 31st of 2018. And the first thing you'll see is your tenant names, and I have them all listed by resident number. And then the second column is your units. So in this case, it would be space 1, space 2, space 3. The square footage column is not very important in cooperatives because you don't typically calculate anything by the square footage of the space. Some places may do that, but I don't know any that do that. Security deposits are typically not recorded here. It's possible to put a membership fee in this column if you wanted to. There is a way to track that. This number is what would it be if it was 100% rented. Again, we don't use that in this particular software program for the cooperatives. The vacancy loss would be a number if we were to put in how much we were losing every month to the vacant spaces. In this particular cooperative I use the sample from, there are 4 vacant spaces, and there's not a number inserted in there because it wasn't believed that they were going to be able to rent them in a reasonable time, so it didn't make sense to track that. Loss to lease, this is what the lease should be. And then your rent charges. Your miscellaneous charges in this particular column for all these clients. See, this one is this is your premium rents, your carrying charges monthly. This particular resident I happen to know is non-member, so they pay non-member rent. And this particular one must have been a fine. And this would also be a non-member rent. And this particular one happens to be a mortgage. This is a late fee. You're not going to be able to know for sure what those miscellaneous charges are without asking some questions or looking at some other reports. In this particular case, you're just tracking what's going on. If there's any credit that's being added, it would be in this column. This column shows what the prior balance is. So like this guy had a $2 credit. This one had a $25 charge. This one was paid in advance. For example, your total charged, so it'd be the columns added together, and then the total paid. So like this one, their total charges was $300, and their total paid was $300, but they had a prior balance of $25, so guess what? They still have a balance of $25. It also tracks their credit balances and their debit balances. So it's a pretty handy little tool for a snapshot of what's going on in a community. So like here's a resident that's prepaid a whole bunch of money, so you see a big credit here and no balance. Here's somebody that's carrying a charge, a larger charge that's more than 1 month's rent, something you'd want to be concerned about. These small numbers could be just an error in their check, and there's another one with a credit balance. Here's one with a small balance. That one might be something to look into if you were analyzing this. And then you get your totals, your total charge, your loss, your rent charges, these should balance, and then your miscellaneous charges, followed by your credits, excuse me, your prior balance, followed by your total charged on your totals. And then you've got your total paid, your credit balance, and your debit balance. So total paid, credit balance, debit balance. So those are all totaled on the bottom. Then here's a nice little thing. You've got a total of 39 spaces. You've got 4 vacant units. So that means you have 35 rented, right? And then your overall balance, the people that owe money and have credits, is 1,014. So you're actually ahead. More people have prepaid than have been in arrears. And I'm finding that pretty common in the cooperatives, that you do have more people that pay on time or have a credit balance than you do people that carry a balance. The total for your reports are down here on the bottom. It's pretty much a summary of what's up here. So that's pretty simple of what a rent roll summary can do for you. So the next question we had was, how do I read it? And then how important is it to review? I would say that for the average cooperative member, you are going to be familiar with most of this information just by looking at your profit and loss, your delinquency report, and knowing how many vacant spaces you have. Because you live there, you're likely to know this information. Now, for technical assistance providers and banks that don't live there, they might want to look at this every month or two just to make sure what's going on. Now, there's another type of rent roll that is called a rent roll analysis, and it's a little bit different in information, and we'll go over that real quick because I typically put these in the reports as well. Now, this one does not have the same time period, so you notice that it's as of 10/31/18. So you might look at it similar to a balance sheet is a running number that goes to this date. So this is kind of similar to that. Again, it's got your tenant name. Actually, we don't have tenants, it's residents, but Rent Manager doesn't know how to change that. Your unit numbers, and then this one's a tad bit different. It has a unit type. Now, in this particular community, you've got an RV space and a space, and you'll see that quite frequently in our communities where we'll have the differences, and a lot of times there's a differential in rent amounts. So if you look here, they're $275 and $285, and this particular space is $325. So they have some sort of differential of the different spaces, and that's why there's a change. So again, you've got your market rent, which we don't typically fill these in for a cooperative because pretty much everybody pays the full amount. You could add that in there if you were giving a discount for some promotional reason and track that, but I don't see a reason to ever do that in a cooperative. You've got your vacancy loss, and that's if you have, say your market rent was $300 and you were only renting it for $285, then your vacancy loss would be $15, but we don't track that. Again, your miscellaneous charges are for something different than what your premium rents would be, and then your total charges and your balance. Security deposits we don't typically track, and then your last rent increase is dated here and how much it was. So this is kind of a handy tool to know when was the last rent increase for this particular community and how that might impact different things. And you can see most of them, they probably converted on this date, and they had a small rent increase in the beginning. And that's very typical. This one looks like they went from non-member to member rent, from member rent to non-member rent, so this is different. Same with this one, looks like a new move-in. So that's what you look at there. And then your report summary is a little bit different. You got your same totals down here. Your total possible rents, and then your number of units, your vacancy rate, and that gives you an occupancy percentage, which is sometimes good for bankers and people that talk financial speak. So those are the two rent rolls that you might see in a report, and it's probably not that important for a typical board member to review it every month. You might want to look at it. If you start having concerns about your property manager, whether or not they're recording rents, and if you've got people paying short and you're not being told, that would be a place to find it. So those are the kind of things that you can do with the rent roll. Thank you for watching. This is Cooperative Management Solutions. Check us out on coopmanagement.com. Have a great day.